Morning. It's almost 6 o'clock. It's 5:50 in the morning, Thursday morning. And have you ever heard of the phrase, the squeaky wheel gets the grease? It's so important to learn how to speak your mind if you're going to have any quality of life. You must master this part of life, and that is speaking up even when you're scared, speaking up when you need to, when you know something is right or you know something's wrong, that you reach down inside, you're able to find that willingness to stand for the thing that you know you must stand for. Sometimes your very life might depend on it. I'll tell you a story. When I was in Iraq, we used to have to go on convoys because I was part of a trucking outfit. So we were a transportation unit, and we would haul anything that would fit on a flatbed truck. It could be fuel bladders, it could be equipment, it could be tents, it could be water, it could be anything that could be thrown onto a flatbed truck and strapped down. And we would haul this stuff up and down a road we called Tampa. But that was just a stretch of highway that went through Iraq. And it was a road that we traveled often, mostly. And the folks that didn't want us there also knew that. And so, every time you would take to the road, it was really dangerous because you were dealing with potentially attack. And it would come in the form of IEDs, where in the middle of the night, people would go out, dig up a portion of the road and plant mines, different explosive or incendiary devices, then cover it back up with asphalt or whatever. And then when our convoys would roll through, they would be hiding somewhere and they would remotely detonate those bombs. And they would it was really important to have this distance discipline between the trucks. So we would have convoys, and sometimes those convoys, it might be 50 trucks or longer. And you could imagine that you would have these situations where you needed some level of distance between each truck. Why? Because if you had one truck with another truck on its bumper tailgating, and when you roll over one of those IEDs, they're waiting just for a moment like that where they can get two for the price of one. And so you would have this distance discipline. And there were other disciplines that you needed to have too on these missions when we would be line hauling like this. You had a partner always, a battle buddy, that's what they call them. And your battle buddy is supposed to be alert and watching and looking for danger. It could be people who were not where they should be. It could be anything. An abandoned car on the side of the road, something about it seems suspicious. And their job is to just be always on the lookout and always thinking. And what you would find oftentimes is that your battle buddy was catching Z's, catnapping, when they're supposed to be watching. You're driving the truck. And so if something were to happen, you were not able to grab a rifle and defend yourself as you're driving the truck. So you're really counting on each other. They're counting on you to maintain your discipline in driving, and you're counting on them to also maintain some level of discipline and awareness. So it's really important that you are at your best. And although it was hard to get rest there, you needed to also have that too. You had to be able to rest in places that it didn't matter if you sleep on the hood of your truck, on the gravel underneath your truck, wherever. And you just did the best you could. If it was sitting in your truck, that's what you did. We would do a lot of our missions very early in the morning, like when it was still dark. And sometimes our SPs, which is a time that we were going to leave, we'd all get together. It could be like 3 o'clock in the morning. You pull formation, you get out there, everybody's ready to go. You've got your squad leaders and everybody organizing everyone and getting ready to go, going over final details. Ready to leave. And oftentimes before you would leave, there was another unit that would go out and they would try to activate or trip these IEDs before your convoy would roll through. So they had specialized vehicles that were specifically armored and angled in such a way so that the blast would not destroy the vehicle or the people inside of it. Now, these vehicles were very different from the vehicles that we were driving. These vehicles were specifically designed for this kind of purpose, and yet very heavily armored. Our trucks, on the other hand, were essentially tuna cans with wheels. And so any kind of IED blast like that would just literally rip it to shreds. So it was very important, one, that you would leave at a specific time, because the people that went out before you to take care of those IEDs, they set out in front of you, and you need to follow them so that not too much time has passed between them and you, because that gives the other side an opportunity to plant more IEDs. I hope that makes sense. So they go out and sweep the area. You need to come up kind of behind them within a certain time frame. So it was very important. Timing was very important. This choreograph, this dance had to happen. And unfortunately for us, we had so we have this human component in the theater of war. And you've got all types of people in there with all kinds of personal problems. And oftentimes in the theater of war, you're really left scratching your head wondering who the actual enemy is. And you realize that there's a very real danger of you going home in a body bag because of things your people are doing or not doing. And so you're not just looking out for the other side, what they're doing. You have to really watch what you're doing and what your teammates are doing. Now, I told you I joined the Army when I was 35 years old. And by the time I got to Iraq, I was a sergeant. And I was just going from the PFC to sergeant. And then there were other people there, even younger than me, who were much higher rank. And I had to take orders from them, even though I had more life experience than these people, even though I made better decisions than these people. I was at their mercy. And it was the hardest aspect of operating in Iraq for me, was knowing that we were doing things that didn't make any sense. And what do you do in a situation like that, where you're outranked, outnumbered, but you feel like what's happening shouldn't be happening? What do you do? Do you stay quiet? Or do you say something and potentially cause a real ruckus? I explained the importance of leaving at a specific time. And for a time, we found ourselves leaving late. Okay, not because of mechanical problems and things like that, but because somebody who was in a position of leadership was drunk, was drinking, and couldn't get their act together. And from my point of view, I saw this as a real problem, because now we were having to leave after our assigned SP time. And to me, what that equals is 1 + 2 = body bag. And I wasn't going home in no damn body bag. Every day we had to do formation in front of this reefer trailer. It was a 53-foot trailer with a freezer box on it. And inside it were the bodies of soldiers waiting for processing and being sent back to the States or whatever they were going to do with them. This thing was always running, and we had to do formation right outside, right by it. And right across the way was a graveyard of trucks that had been blown to smithereens. And from time to time, I would walk through there and just look at all the carnage. And sometimes you could see blood and all kinds of shit still on the vehicles, and the massive damage that the explosive devices did. And you would just would be thinking to yourself, it's just a matter of time before I'm in that damn trailer. It's the lottery, you know. And we had come under attack often, many times. Somehow we all made it. There were injuries and things like that, but no deaths. But this teammate of ours kept showing up drunk, and we were having to leave late. And it got to a point where I said, I've got to intervene. So I went to this person's chew. That's what we called these living containers that we were using at the time. Essentially, they were shipping containers that were modified into some living, I don't know, they put a floor, walls, and an air conditioner in there, and you could throw your cots and stuff in there. You could sleep in there, and at least, you know, it wasn't 115 degrees. And so, this was our housing. So I went over to his chew, and I asked him to come outside, and I said, I need to talk to you. And I explained my position on this, and that I know he's drunk and that needs to stop. And he told me that it would. And I thought, oh, great. Okay, so yeah, this fixes the problem. But it didn't fix the problem. And he kept doing it. And I know, people have issues and problems at home. That was self-evident. There was a bank of phones. I remember that I would see there that like AT&T set up for the soldiers, and it'd be like 15 phones all lined up in a row. And these phones were like in various states of what would happen is that these soldiers would call home and find out that their spouse is cheating on them or divorcing them or whatever. And the soldier would take the phone and just like throw it up against the base of the phone. And just all these phones were in various states of disrepair and brokenness and just smashed to smithereens. And many of them didn't work because of the difficulties that these people were facing at home and their loved ones were facing at home, and they couldn't be there to do anything. Aspect of war a lot of people are not familiar with. And so this soldier that I was talking to with a drinking problem was no doubt facing many issues. And being there all by itself is an issue that a lot of people had a problem with, facing and staring down death every day. Having people actively trying to kill you on a daily basis is an interesting dynamic. If you've never experienced it before, it could really twist you into a knot. And drinking is understandable, but you can't do it. And while I had sympathy for this young man, I was not going to tolerate it, even though I was outranked by him. So I went back a second time. And I said, you told me this was going to stop, and it's not. And if this continues, then I'll take it higher. I'll go to the commander. He said, okay. And do you think it stopped? No. So I'm faced with a situation, and it's not just me also that is aware of this. And I have other people who, I was tight with, who were worried, and, they want to go home also, but not in a body bag. But nobody was willing to stand up and say anything. I was the oldest one there, probably the one with the most life experience. And guess what? If it's to be, it's up to me. So I went above him. And instead of going to the commander, I went to the next level above him. And I said, look, this is the situation, and it needs to be fixed. He cannot be leading these convoys anymore. And if you don't take care of this situation, then I will go to the commander. And these guys looked at me and said, well, Sergeant Tubbs, we don't do things like that around here. There's a certain way that we do things. And I said, excuse me, I don't care. I don't care how you do things. I'm not going home in a body bag. And you're going to fix this problem, or I'll fix it. So if you don't want this to go any higher, I'm giving you the opportunity to clean up this problem quietly, or I'll make a lot of noise. And they just looked at me. And I will tell you that he did not go out on another convoy for a long time. This guy got to work out his issues in the supply closet. And I'm telling you that there comes a time in your life where you have to stand. You have to stand for something. Let it stand for something right and good. If you're standing by and your life is being affected by other people, and it's being affected because you're scared, because you don't have your sea legs, because you think you don't have the power, because you don't want to live on your own, or you're afraid of moving out and getting your own place and paving your own way, you are in for a real shock in life. If it's to be, it's up to me. There's nobody that's going to save you. You have to save yourself. Whatever your situation is, whatever it is, it could be at a workplace, it could be at home, it could be with a family member. There comes a time where you've got to stand. You've got to take a stand. If it's to be, it's up to me. And I know it's hard, but your future self is counting on it. Anyway, I love you guys. I hope that your day is good. I already had my first cup of coffee and I'm ready for a second. I hope your day is good. Take care.